house and turning out for Mum and Dad's special day today. I've got just a few words I'd like to say. Firstly, how fortuitous that the 12th of July 2008 happened to be on a Saturday, so it's exactly all planned, was it perfectly? So it's exactly 50 years ago today, obviously, meaning they've almost been married as many years as they've had houses. Imo and I are very lucky that their love for each other has spilled over into their love for us, obviously, and all you folks as well, obviously. Yes. We've shared many happy family times. I remember when we were both at school or living at home together, obviously, having a nice meal, lovely tea, cooked by the pair of them, and we'd all sit down and watch the Munsters. Each of us secretly thinking, why can't we be a normal family? I remember also lovely, happy family times, all sitting around listening to cassette tapes that Dad had bought, because he was going to be damned if he was going to take the manufacturer's word that they were blank. Sit around listening to them. Another of my earliest memories was of a guy coming to our house and asking if he could read the meter, and Mum tutting and saying, whatever happened to the classics, David? Because of course they met in a library 7 years after World War II. I remember my first trip to a library. Dad and I went and went up into the little sort of main area where the reception bit was, and we asked the guy, Dad asked him, have you got a book on the Heimlich anti-choking manoeuvre? And the guy said, you'll have to check the card catalogue, I'm too busy. So we went over to the card catalogue and Dad looked under Heimlich and anti and choking and manoeuvre, and it wasn't under any of them. So we eventually found a first aid book. And Dad went, so can I take this out? And he said, you can't take that out, it's a reference book, you'll have to photocopy it. So we went to the photocopy in the corner of the library, and it took like 10 pences, and Dad didn't have any change. So we went back to the guy, reception area, and said, can you change this £5? And he said, this is a library, not a bank. So we went to there was a little souvenir stand in the foyer of the library area, so we went to the souvenir stand, can we change this £5? And he said, this is a souvenir stand, not a bank. So we left the library, we went to a bank, and he said, yes, this is a bank. And he gave us some change for £5, and we went back to the library. And by this time, unfortunately, there was a whole line of students all waiting to copy their textbooks and all the rest of it. So we waited in this huge queue and finally got to the front of the queue and we copied it, and then we were leaving and the guy said, that was a reference, but can you actually put it back where you found it, please? So we went back and put it out, and the guy said, thank you, and Dad said, well, thank you, I'm never coming to this dump again. And we left, and Dad drove me home. By this time, Mom was almost purple from the chicken bone. It was caught in her throat. But that's that shows how far they'll go. Another early memory is of the love and indeed protection that Mom and Dad have for us. True story, this. We were crossing, crossing a zebra crossing on the way back from primary school, and this car by the zebra crossing was sort of nudging up against us and revving his engine and what have you. And Mom, hammered on his bonnet saying, back off, these are my children! With a cake arm, a true story that. And I always remember that as a sort of sign of protection and Dad's also very kind and loving to the pair of us. Obviously, I remember happy times up near Nana's with Barry and Dad taking us kite flying by the wreck and the park and what have you by Nana's, and Imo and I going on the swings together. And Im was always much better on the swings than I was. She had a knack of doing something with the legs that made her go far higher than I was. So I was saying, Dad, push me higher. So Dad would, push me. I said, that's rubbish, push me higher, harder. So he'd do it again. I said, harder, harder. So he took a little run up and pushed me. Harder, harder. So he reversed the Renault 12. Loop the loop. I think everybody in the room knows how, what a loving and caring couple Mum and Dad are. There's not one person, I would imagine, here who hasn't experienced or benefited from their unconditional love. They're always very considerate, always put everybody else first, even strangers that don't know. I remember a time in Tockwith, where we used to live, Mum one night saw this poor person rummaging around in our bins, looking for food or something, and Mum hates to see another human being rummaging around in rubbish looking for food. So the very next night, she made him this lovely raccoon costume, so it's a bit more dignified. So that's sort of consideration and caring. How caring. Did he wear it? No. They have so much fun together as well, so much fun that they've had together. I remember when I was small and even tall, I was really into Lego, and I'd go to Mum and say, "Oh, can I have a brand new Lego police station that's just come out?" And Mum said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to have to ask Dad." So I went over to the end of the room and asked Dad. I said, "Oh yeah, ask Mum really." So I ran over and asked, "Mum, can I have a brand new?" Ask your Dad. So I ran over, ran back, and I was about halfway over the room and I tripped and I fell and I hit my head on the coffee table. And Mum said to Dad, "15, love, you're served." Oh, what fun they have together.